Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Kalani Tissot joins us. He's a Democratic fundraising consultant here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain, moving 95% of our freight in the Silver State. And while essential, the road isn't always smooth. Supply chain disruptions, rising fuel costs, and unrealistic rules and laws that hamper our ability to serve our customers and country. Our prosperity and every sector of the economy, manufacturing, mining, medicine, and food from farm to table, is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
You're in trouble with the law. It's easy to think you'll lose everything, but there is hope. I'm attorney Orrin Johnson. Your first step is to hire a serious attorney with the experience to successfully navigate the legal system for you.
Sometimes hope means addiction treatment instead of jail, and making sure you're treated fairly.
Sometimes hope means fearless trial attorneys will stand up to the government when they get it wrong. Call or text Orrin Johnson Law.
We'll make a plan.
You'll take back your life.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to welcome back to the program Kalani Tissot. He is a Democrat fundraising consultant. It is a pleasure to have you back, sir.
Sam, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I want to start out with that infamous debate that everybody knows about, that everybody watched. I'm presuming you watched it too. What were your thoughts when you watched that as regards your business?
Infamous debate. Are we talking about last year with President Biden?
Yes.
Well, I'm fortunate. My business focuses on candidates at the local, state, and federal level in Congress, so I had no ties to the president's campaign. But certainly, that was the beginning of a dramatic shift in national politics, with President Biden resigning, Kamala Harris entering the race, and the entire race having a shift in dynamic. What I will say is that on the Democratic side, we certainly saw an outpour of enthusiasm. Now, it clearly in the end was not enough to carry Vice President Kamala Harris to victory here in Nevada. But I think that downpour of enthusiasm did really help a lot of other down ballot races in Nevada with victory last year.
Were you surprised, and I'm sure pleased, that she was able to raise $1 billion in such a short period of time?
Not at all. I would say that there are a lot of reasons why we lost nationally at the national level as Democrats last year, but money was not the reason why we lost. Democratic fundraisers and Democratic campaigns, we've been able to run really competitive, strong fundraising programs, especially here in Nevada, but nationally as well, to where our biggest problem on the national scale is not money, it's a variety of other issues.
For example?
Well, there's a few things, right? Nationally, we're talking about gerrymandering occurring across multiple states. That's a really powerful conversation happening in both Texas and California right now, and that can affect outcomes. But I think when we're talking about last year, and Sam, I hate to be out of my scope because I like to focus on the money, but it was all about messaging and communications and what inspired American voters to come out and vote. And unfortunately, Vice President Harris did not assess the coalition that she needed to win.
No, for sure. And some of her responses, like on The View, what would you have done differently? and she didn't have a solid response to that. Do you find sometimes, and you and I have talked privately about marketing, so I'm comfortable asking you this. Do you feel that sometimes we don't really align what we would do for any other product, and politics is a product, the way we market it is so negative versus when we're selling regular products, we're always going with the positive. Do you think that that would help, actually in reality, both Democrats and Republicans, if there were more positive messages out there and less of the negativity? And is that even possible?
Well, it's all based on a really important human truth, right? And that negativity is the most powerful motivating force, and it's far more motivating than positivity. I'll tell you, with the candidates and elected officials that we work with fundraising on, well, we'll say if everything was rosy, if everything was going really well, why do you need to raise a lot of money, right? And so channeling negativity through competitiveness, through necessity, through the need to outcompete and win is really important. And we incorporate that into our fundraising practices. I will say, to me, it's really important here in Nevada that while we focus on urgency and competitiveness, that we try to avoid some of the tactics that some Democratic firms use nationally when they're constantly, house is on fire, everything is falling apart. We're going to lose if you don't give $15 in the next 5 minutes. I really like to avoid those tactics. I think they're over the top. But in both fundraising and in messaging, as you alluded, the product of politics, negativity is what motivates people to take action, and it's a fundamental part of the human existence.
So, and that's an interesting point. So is Zach Conine an outlier in the fact that he was able to use humor in his commercials to be able to turn the table and come out with a positive message and still won handily?
One thing I really admire about the state treasurer is he has a lot of authenticity. And I think authenticity in politics can be rare. And I think it's something that voters really crave from their elected officials and from their politicians. And so his commercial back in 22, I remember seeing it on live and laughing, was really authentic. And if you know Zach, that's him. And so authenticity is something that is a really strong strong attribute that Zach has. And I'm sure moving forward, as he runs for Attorney General, we're going to continue to see a lot of that in his online advertising.
And personally, I think that would be a lot of help. I mean, I will never run for office ever, I promise. But if I did, my response would be in the beginning of a commercial, is that the best that you've got? And then move on with my positive message rather than getting into how terrible the other person is. You're in an interesting situation here in Nevada because, especially in Southern Nevada, you have a huge Democratic base. And so Democrats have done very well as the power has shifted to Southern Nevada over the last couple of decades. When you look toward what the positives are for Nevada and for Nevada Democrats, what's the pitch you have to donors, and how willing at this point, due to the economy, are they willing to put their hand into their pocket to donate at this point in their game?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think it depends on the race and the campaign that we're talking about. For context, my firm, we served 30 candidates and elected officials across the state of Nevada last election cycle, and they cumulatively raised over 14.5 million. But for this upcoming election cycle, there's a lot of differences by race. There are a few very competitive campaigns I'm excited to be involved in, right? We talk about 2 marquee mayoral races that are on the ballot next year, both in North Las Vegas with Councilman Scott Black, running for North Las Vegas mayor, and Assemblywoman Danielle Monroe Moreno, also running for that race. I anticipate that race to set a record on both sides of the total amount of political fundraising involved for a North Las Vegas mayor's race. If we go up north to the Reno mayoral race, I expect the Reno mayoral race to have another record-setting amount of funding. My candidate is about to emerge in that race, and then we have the Honorable Kate Marshall, who's been actively campaigning for months now, and that'll be a marquee race of the election cycle. And of course, we go to the Nevada governor's race, right? Where we have our incumbent governor, Joe Lombardo, with Attorney General Aaron Ford running for governor. And I've been so honored to be a part of the Attorney General's fundraising team. This is my almost 6 years of working for him. And I'll tell you, I remain very confident that he will have the resources he needs to run for governor. And if you look at the numbers, in the history of Nevada, money in politics only continues to go up, right? Back in 2018, Steve Sisolak raised about 11.2 million, Laxalt 8.9, that was 20.1 million total. You jump to 2022, Sisolak had 18.5 million over 4 years. Lombardo raised 10.6. That was 29.1 million. And so the trend, not just in the governor's race or the U.S. Senate, but really across all the down ballot races that my firm specializes in, is that our ability to increase the amount of money for budgets, for campaigns, only continues to go up. And you asked about the economy, right? When we think of who is an average political donor to a campaign, on the individual side, we're talking about people who are typically have an average age of being over the age of 65. We're talking about Americans who are more educated, who are more affluent, and who are more involved in civic engagement. And we're also talking about, local companies, Nevada businesses, Nevada lobbying firms, lawyers, attorneys, and other prominent families across the state of Nevada. And so typically the attributes that, describe a political donor are not ones that can be affected by the unemployment trend in Nevada being the highest, almost nationwide that it's ever been, right? And so some of these economic factors will not slow down the growth of political money in Nevada. I would say what could affect the growth would be two things, right? Affluent individuals are affected by the stock market, and Nevada companies, especially Nevada gaming companies, can be impacted by a slowdown in tourism and a slowdown in gambling.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back with more. We're talking with Kalani Tissot. He's a Democratic fundraising consultant. We'll be right back after this timeout.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. Our community is our foundation. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
Fantastic cocktails and delicious food. It's a good time to eat. Over 500 hot slots, plus electronic table games.
It's a good time to play.
Player rewards and big-time jackpots.
It's a good time to win.
Ooh, your good times at Tamarack.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Kalani Tissot. He's a Democratic fundraising consultant. You had mentioned the numbers in the governor's race last time around. And it was interesting. I was in D.C. speaking with the folks at GMMB, which is a huge national agency that buys for Democrats. And I mentioned how much Steve Sisolak had raised. And I put the number around $15 million. Obviously, that wasn't the final number. And they looked at me and they said, $15 million in Nevada is nothing these days. And that was shocking. I remember when Kenny Gwynn scared the heck out of everybody when he ran the first time for governor and raised $3 million in the very early stages of the game. I guess the question is, where do you put all this money? Because I realize that TV stations and even programs like Nevada Newsmakers raise their rates every couple of years, but we only have so many TV stations, so many TV outlets. Is so much more now going to digital TV?
That's a great question. It's a little out of my scope because I focus on raising the money, and there's amazing consultants like the folks at GMMB that spend the money. But I'll tell you, there's a few factors that affect how much campaigns need to raise. And that is the amount of the cost structure across the rising cost of media that you highlighted and mentioned. But I also think they're finding more and more new ways to engage voters that are very innovative, right? Live streaming and television and online advertising, the amount of channels and mediums, including Netflix, that has recently introduced ads within the last year or so. There's more and more mediums and ways to spend money to reach voters. And I think the availability of those mediums and also the challenge it is in our modern society to get your message across to people who are going to listen to it really just requires more money. And it requires more attempts to reach a voter to be able to get in front of them and say, we really need your vote. Now, I'll tell you, there's factors on what we're doing to help candidates raise more money. Campaigns are starting earlier and earlier in Nevada. They're spending a lot more time raising money. I think that's been a big part of my success with our candidates, is that we've had them start raising money early and often. I like to say that call time for an elected official with a competitive race is a healthy habit. The same way we need to get sleep and we need to work out and eat healthy, elected officials who are running for office need to raise money on a regular basis. And that's the foundation of our formula for setting fundraising records. And we continue to help a lot of electeds set fundraising records. But as the costs continue to go up, as polarization only heightens, and as competitive campaigns continue to become more and more competitive, you're only going to see more money in the system.
You bring up an interesting point. I remember interviewing Dean Heller when he was a congressman, and he told me that 50% of his time in D.C. was spent not on the Hill, but going to the Republican National Committee offices where he would be on the phone dialing for dollars. And that was a shocking statistic, that half of his time there was spent raising money. And if you weren't raising money, then you weren't going to get the support of your colleagues on getting your bills through.
Yeah, I think we're fortunate. Very few Nevada elected officials have to spend 50% of their time raising money. Certainly on the federal level, when they have an election coming up, they have to have the resources. I mean, congressional races in Nevada are easily $5 million at the U.S. House level nowadays. But I think, on the down ballot elected officials, you talk about your city council members, you talk about your county commissioners. I think we've had a lot of success maybe taking the amount of time they've had to raise money from being 5% of their time and upping it to 15% of their time during election year, or maybe a little bit more. But more time every year, every election cycle is being spent on fundraising. And that's one of the reasons why that we continue to set new records and have more money in the system than ever before.
You mentioned the mayor's race in North Las Vegas and the mayor's race in Reno. I remember, Reno mayoral races where 150 grand on either side was a lot of money. Are we talking maybe $500,000 in these kind of races now?
Easily more.
Seriously?
Yes, I think it's possible that either candidate, I'm especially hopeful my candidate could do this, could get close to $1 million. But I think cumulatively between both premier candidates, and I'm sure there will be more, I would expect the total sum to be well over 7 figures.
Wow, that's astonishing for a community the size of Reno. I mean, because you're not even including Sparks and the outlying areas. When you talk about population, it's a much smaller number. That's a lot of money. Well, I know that the other TV stations in the market follow our show, and I'm sure their sales managers will be thrilled to know that kind of money is coming down the pike. Let me ask you, in terms of donations, how are you working with the Gen Z generation? I mean, are they already engaged in politics to a level that you're involved in, or are we still waiting on that?
Yeah, Gen Z continues to be more politically involved. I think Gen Z's involvement in 2024 nationally was an important part of the outcome of the presidential election. When it comes to fundraising and donations, Gen Z is not that involved, right? Again, the average age of a political donor is well over the age of 65. And so I think Gen Z is paying more attention. I think they're listening to more news. I think they care and are more passionate about politics than maybe previous generations at that age. But will they give money? I think we're gonna have to wait a couple decades for them to build up some affluence and build up some time before they continue to or begin engaging more so on a political donation basis.
So basically, they're going to start contributing to your firm once you get to retirement age.
Yes, by the time that I'm retiring, I think Gen Z is going to be, as a cohort, are going to be a very strong group of political donors.
Of course. All right, let's take another break. We'll be right back after this timeout.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience. Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our very interesting conversation with Kalani Tissot. He's a Democratic fundraising consultant, operates not only in Nevada, but some surrounding states as well. We were talking about the mayoral races. Share some stats about what you think is going to happen in Reno and North Las Vegas here.
Right. I mentioned earlier that Reno is going to have a record amount of money in the mayoral race this election cycle. And my team is going to work really hard with a great candidate on accomplishing that. I think there's a few reasons for that. One, it's probably the most competitive Reno mayoral since Mayor Sheevy first ran for office. I'd also say that things have changed a lot since then. And the Reno mayor's race now relies on raising donations, not just from within Reno, but also from friends, family, and those who care across Nevada and Las Vegas. I think Las Vegas dollars, you're going to see a very high amount of Las Vegas dollars in the Reno mayoral fundraising. But I also think you're going to see national dollars. I think Democrats in Nevada have done a phenomenal job of getting more and more national dollars in Nevada politics for campaigns, far more than Republicans have. A big part of that is a lot of national organizations view Nevada and winning in Nevada as being necessary to take back the White House in 28. And they know that if we invest early in down ballot races and statewide races, that can help play a role in that. If you look at North Las Vegas, this is going to be by far the most competitive North Las Vegas mayoral race we've had in a long time. Maybe back to when Mayor John Lee first became and ran for mayor of North Las Vegas. It's rare that we have two candidates that are capable of raising money and competing in this capacity that really are going to set the stage for this kind of race. We're proud to be part of Councilman Scott Black's team, and we're confident that he's going to have a meaningful amount of money by the end of this, far more than what we helped Mayor Pamela Goins-Brown raise in 2022. So I would say in total, that race expected to be cumulatively in the seven figures, just like the mayor's race in Reno.
Well, and it would have to be potentially substantially more than the Reno mayor's race, just because the amount of stations that you have in Las Vegas for both radio and television. And as I was mentioning earlier, the digital offerings, it was interesting to see, and I know this is not your forte, but it is a discussion point, which is that in the last election cycle, that was where I really saw the move into digital advertising, first for some political campaigns, mostly issue campaigns on the national level. But then as regular advertisers were being pushed out of the television market because it was too expensive, then you saw the Walmarts, the Targets, and all the others spending even more money, local car dealerships, and then politics followed it. So, I mean, I think that there's going to be a lot more places to spend that money. And I also think that from what you're saying, that this is the money being spent on the mayoral races will mean that down ticket races will get more attention because you will have to go down ticket to be able to find the mayoral race, let alone the others.
Yes, and it's a different election cycle, right? We do have no US Senate race on top of the ticket next year. We have no presidential at top of the ticket next year. For the first time in a long time, this is really just governor and governor all the way down. And that's a really unique election dynamic because the amount of money that pours in for independent expenditures, super PACs for presidential campaigns, for US Senate campaigns, is in the tens of millions of dollars. Now, I still suspect there to be a massive influx of funds. I mean, think about how Governor Lombardo had his donor Bigelow. It had a huge, massive 8-figure independent expenditure for him in 22. We suspect that a lot of independent expenditures will be here for the governor's race. But I wonder if the cost of media will be overall less because there'll be less buyers in the market in 26 than there were in 24. But the one thing I can guarantee you is that down ballot campaigns all the way up to the governor's race is that everybody is working very hard to position themselves to be competitive, to have ample financial resources, and to be ready to be on TV, on radio, on digital, and mail to make sure we get our message across.
And that's where we have to leave it. I thank you so much for doing this. Please come back again soon because I love having this conversation with you.
It's great being here. Thanks, Sam.
You're very welcome, and we'll be right back.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org. Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Check out our archives section on NevadaNewsmakers.com. Great interviews going back as far as 2002. Really worth watching. We'll see you on the next podcast.